But this morning, then we're joined by our special guest star, Dan Gadd, who's from Click Dimensions. Our topic that we're mainly covering this morning is the GDPR. So we know that isn't a terribly exciting thing to be looking at, but it's actually really crucial if you're a small business in the UK and you do have any contact with customers in Europe at all, or customers that reside in Europe, or you do business, or it matters to all of us, even post-Brexit. So this morning we're also joined by Ian Bourne, our CEO. Hi, Ian. Hello. And
hi, Wendy. Yeah, I was already muted there.
You're multitasking again. You do know that men can't do that multitasking thing, don't you?
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, and we're also joined by Lucy Bourne, hi, Lucy. Later on is going to show us the subscription preferences options that are present within Click Dimensions already. Hi, Dan. Have we said hello to you yet?
No. Hi. How you doing?
Yeah, we're good, thank you. It's very early in the morning in there for you, isn't it?
Just about 6 a.m. here, but it's okay. We're going with it.
Yeah, I know, you're a real trooper. Thank you. Thank you so much. We've also got Dave Wilner in the room, account manager here at Cloud 2020, and a novice on the show. Is that right?
This is my first time. I've been very much looking forward to it.
Have you? I bet you haven't been able to wait, have you? Could you sleep overnight?
Not very well.
Not very well, okay. So if I could just bring Ian here now, because we published a blog post yesterday called What We Did on Our Holidays. I have to say that photograph isn't of Ian at the Knobbly Knees competition, but we thought it was a suitable expression of what we've been doing. We've been migrating to financials, haven't we?
Yeah, we certainly have, Wendy, and thanks for all your hard work on that. So financials, you probably are aware, is the financial element of Microsoft Dynamics NAV being presented out now for a solution that's more appropriate to the SMB market. Now, you may have heard also this week there's been a lot of interesting rumor coming out of an American exhibition called Directions NA, and what I want to do is allay some fears, actually, that what we're hearing is that there will be a change to the way that financials and operations is offered out to customers, probably in a more exciting way. But the rumours you heard last week were just really badly presented. So we were going to be attendance at the Directions EMEA conference week after next. Lucy, Chris and I will be there. And I'm also on a call with Seattle this afternoon where this is a major topic. I think it's more a question of marketing message as opposed to product. The product is being dramatically revised. It's currently under the code name of Tenerife, and will be launched in a new version in the next few months, and will be jolly exciting. But just hold fire for the moment in terms of worrying about any rumours you might hear. I think we need to let the dust settle, and then we will be blogging and updating colleagues and customers around the way ahead over the next few weeks.
Yeah, that's great, thank you. So we've gone from Madrid to Tenerife then. We're still obviously they're staying in the EU as far as Microsoft is concerned, and we'll look forward to that. We're really the transition to financials has not been painless. No business migrates lightly their financial system. It can be a bit painful and it can be a bit worrying, but I have to say that post the steep learning curve, then it is proving to be remarkably simple to use and really effective in bringing together all of that information and then linking it into the CRM. So from my perspective, it's certainly been a good thing to do. Thanks, Ian. That's great perspective there. Dan, if we could move over to you then. We're going to talk about GDPR. How exciting is that?
Oh, it's been very exciting for Click Dimensions, and it's, to be honest, the topic, not that GDPR in general, but the topic of data protection is not a new topic for us. We've gone through this with a couple different legislation that's gone through, including Can't Spam Act. So it's not something that's new for us. And basically with GDPR, we just have to be extra careful, right? So one of the largest consumer areas for us is both the UK and EMEA for us. So, from a click dimensions perspective, what we're doing is we're taking the functionality that we have right now that's compliant for, or what we think is going to be compliant for GDPR, and making that requirements in the product. Making sure that the subscription preference or opt-in is required, things like that. Now, one of the more popular misconceptions on GDPR is that to be compliant with this, all data must stay in the EU, and that's actually not the case. What our consultants on staff has made us aware of is that you can actually send in and out of the EU and still be compliant. So little misconceptions like that, and just being aware of it, and as long as we can wrap our heads around it, I think something myself and Click Dimensions will be working with you all with is just getting like a bullet point. This is what you should be doing for best practice out in time. That's going to be something that's going to be helpful moving forward.
Those things are really useful, aren't they? I mean, I took a look around the Microsoft site actually and discovered that they'd already spoken about 5 steps to GDPR readiness, and we created a little infographic regarding that, which is available on our blog for anybody listening. Very useful and very simple steps that actually really seem to me to be best practice. Would you say that, Lucy? Would you say that anyway, the kind of things that we're being asked to do are really what we should be doing anyway, really?
I completely agree, to be honest with you, Wendy. I think, as Dan alluded to, this isn't the first legislation that's been passed across our plates, and I think really it is, as a consumer of products as well as someone offering them, it really is the industry standard we should all be following. We should only be receiving the communications we really explicitly want to, and we should be able to request the information that an organisation holds on us. In this data age, in this digital age, our data is all over the place, and it's quite nice to have that comfort and that sense of feeling that we can understand what they've got, how long they've had it, and what they're able to do with it.
It looked to me, from the reading that I did around it yesterday and last week actually, one of the things that the European site for the Organisation for Data Protection in the EU is basically saying our lawful basis for processing as a business has an effect on the individual's rights, and because we rely on someone's consent to process their data, they will now have stronger rights. For example, the rights to have their data deleted, and it seems to me that's a step in the right direction, really. None of us really want stuff out there that we don't know somebody's holding. As a person, as an individual, I'm glad our rights are being strengthened, and I'm glad that businesses need to be compliant and up to date with that and need to take steps. It seems a good thing to me.
And as Dan mentioned or alluded to earlier, it is a great opportunity for us to be able to reach out to our current clients, old, new, long-standing, and give them some services to assist them with that process.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just to go off what Wendy said there, is kind of taking something that people see as a daunting task of making sure all of their contacts are up to date and whatnot. At the end of the day, you're wasting your marketing efforts on people that don't want to receive things from you, right? So this GDPR, in a sense, is going to help you with a more stronger marketing and sales approach. If they've opted out, don't waste your time. There's no reason to send people marketing emails that don't want to receive them. So
that's a cracking point, Dan.
Going that
I
way,
hadn't thought about that either.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, and in the end, we can't sell to somebody who doesn't want to buy from us. We can't talk to somebody who doesn't want to listen to us. So what is the point of forcing it? I agree entirely, Dan. It's such a good point. Lisa, I was wondering if do we have time to look at the subscription preferences?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if you want to, what I'll do is just take over presentation from you, Wendy. If you just
if you could, thank you. You know how poor I am with this technology thing. It's because of having grey hair, you see.
Not at all. Now, I know that there are many cool features that come as part of Click Dimensions that sits inside of Dynamics. But one of the the tools that can really help us with the legislation around GDPR is the subscription preference tools that they offer. So what we're looking at here is a simple subscription preference builder that allows us to drag in different subscription lists that our recipients can subscribe in or out of. So as you can see in my central panel here, I've put in a couple of snapshots that make this web page that essentially the visitors to our emails will be able to see, and I can give them the ability to opt in or opt out of those subscription preferences. If I just preview that, you'll see what it'll look like once it's gone live. So as you can see, I've just got simple opt-in, opt-outs. The individual can update their email address or provide us with those details, all of which will sync nicely back into Dynamics 365 and allow us to populate our marketing lists. So as Dan says, we can start to communicate with them on what they want to hear rather than what we think they want to hear. So, it might be that I actually just want to hear about events and newsletters, but I'm not interested in updates of the product at all. Equally, as we've always had to do, if we're sending an email to more than 500 people, we do have to give them the ability to unsubscribe from all of our email communications. So for clients or organizations that use Click Dimensions for transactional type emails or anything to do with product or delivery, we do have to be conscious that if they unsubscribe from all these emails, they won't receive anything from us from a Click Dimensions perspective. So one of the other benefits is this can be available at the bottom of all of the emails that we send out as part of Click Dimensions. They can also then go in and manage those preferences later. So if all they want to do is see the updates, if they want to go and change those preferences, they absolutely can do.
Thank you. I think that really shows us how Click Dimensions is already showing us the way forward in terms of making sure that we're compliant. And it seems to me that the more we take those 5 steps on and we make sure that we're actually knowing what we need to know, that we do a regular audit. So that initially that starts with a discovery, I think, around what personal data do we hold and where is it kept. And it seems to me that that's a really good opportunity to start going through the marketing lists that are held in Click Dimensions and making sure that we've got an absolute consent and a sign up from the customers. Yeah,
absolutely. And it goes back to what Dan said with regard to what we're holding on a client. We can use the other Click Dimensions features like surveys or forms to allow the recipient of our emails, the consumer of our marketing collateral, to update their own details. So they can, if they've changed their email address, if their surname's changed, they can update that themselves, all of which is held centrally against the contact or the lead record in CRM.
Yes, so it does bring us to the second step from Microsoft's perspective, which was around protecting that data. So we need to satisfy ourselves that the data we hold on individuals is held in a safe environment. And of course, we know that Microsoft with their platforms, their hosting platforms are absolutely security. Their level is, I believe, tier 1 or tier 2. Is that right, Ian?
Well, in fact, if you go to the Microsoft Trust Center website, you'll see that they have a whole host of compliancy certification, which goes way beyond any of the other 2 hyper providers for data center management and storage. So it's comforting to know that anything you get involved with in terms of Microsoft Data Center, such as Dynamics CRM, Dynamics 365 or SharePoint, all come under the auspice of all those standards.
Yeah.
Which is why you've got some fairly major organisations like the UK Ministry of Defence now moving all their data and platforms to those Microsoft data centres. There's a lot of confidence there that Microsoft take the custody of their data very, very seriously.
Yeah,
absolutely. And when we're talking about the platform itself, whether it be Office 365, SharePoint or Dynamics 365, there are some really simple steps we can take in terms of enabling multi-factor authentication and other really simple steps that even small businesses can employ to keep their data safe.
Yeah. I think that since we're drawing so near to the end of this podcast, we try to keep things short. We try to make sure that you could just have a coffee and listen to this while you're doing other things. We've actually probably got near to the end of what we're going to be able to do today. Dan, I'm really grateful to you for getting up so early, although I know you're a bit of an early bird anyway, aren't you?
Oh, no worries. I had my coffee for sure.
Did you have your coffee with you? Okay,
Yeah.
well, you'll need another one when you listen back to it.
Possibly.
So if I could ask you all to take a look at our Twitter feed if you'd like to interact with us. Our Twitter feed is Cloud2020 at Cloud2020 UK. You can email us if you want to comment around this, or you need help to sort out your thoughts around GDPR compliance, or even if you're interested in what's happening with financials as well. You can email us at hello@cloud2020.co.uk. We have a blog which is updated regularly at blog.cloud2020.co.uk, and we'd love you to subscribe to our newsletters where we send out information about events, and you can register there. There's also a YouTube channel, and Cloud 2020 UK is the name of that one, where we will put this podcast up so you have a chance to listen again for all these nuggets of wonderful information. So it just remains to me to thank you all. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Lucy. Thanks, Ian. And thanks, Dan. And say that we're drawing to the end now of this podcast. Next month, it will be October the 19th will be the date of the next Cloud 2020 Insights. So thanks for joining us.